the growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on
This is
Sunday.
about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Guns up, baby!
And giddy up. What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? You have stumbled into, or maybe even on purpose, tuned into the Failure to Stop podcast. That's right. Failure to Stop, the #1 show where law enforcement meets culture. This is our Friday flagship show. And today, uvalde, however you pronounce it, hindsight is 2022. We are going to bring on a special guest who has plenty of law enforcement experience and knowledge, who has taken some deep dives on this. And you asked, we answered, right? We have never had as much interaction, probably positive and negative, both extremes, than talking about Uvalde. And we're gonna bring you up to speed again, continue to take another step, because hey, we're actually doing what we said we would do, which is be patient and continue to think this through as it develops. And we're going to try to live true to our word and continue to do that. Admit as if there's a place where we need to admit that we screwed up, we will. And if there's a place where we didn't, then we'll champion that still. So stay tuned for the show. We've got our normal housekeeping stuff, but this is one show of right now, I think 4 a week, right? Right, Tansy? Is that what we got? What do we have going on?
4 shows a week. Obviously, we got police related news on Monday with you and Dave. Hey, Big Daddy Dave. And then, which I can never find him on Instagram because I always forget that it's
Daddy D.
Oh, it's he Big Daddy D. I always forget, dude. It's the hardest one for me. Tuesday, we got Night Shift True Crime with Andrea. That show is rocking. We're on part 3 of the Murdoch murders. And then Thursday, Last Call, has really developed this very weird. I've never had a social media with more engagement than the Last Call Instagram on the Failure to Stop, which is really about turning it off. It's about turning the job off, and people are really into that, I guess. And so people send me constant pictures of their quality time off, and it's been a really fun, kind of a 4-week dive into Last Call. And we're doing guests. We had Colin O'Brady on this week, Mike. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to that episode. I know you've been out of town.
That's super cool, man. Like
the guy
land that type of guest is awesome. He was just on Joe Rogan, man.
Yeah, the guy solo trekked all of Antarctica by himself. And you want to think about like something like scary.
He did it solo and by himself?
Well, yeah, solo by himself. It's kind of like the reviews that we get where it's
doubly
like
alone.
They keep us informed, and they're just very informing. No, it was a great episode, man. The guy is brilliant on a microphone, and everything he says, you're just kind of like, you take a sit back and you're like, yeah, I can apply that to my life. Yeah, I could definitely apply that to my life. So it was a very fun episode, and we've got another great guest lined up for this next Last Call. And of course, this, our Friday flagship show is just doing its thing as always.
And if you guys are listening on the Tuesday nights for the Night Shift, the True Crime with Eric and Andrea, that is broadcast on YouTube live at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then we have this show is live on YouTube at 11 a.m. on Friday mornings Eastern time. And the other shows are all audio, or you can watch the videos of those live if you are a member. So if you want to support the show, if you like what we're doing, then you can go to failuretostop.com, grab yourself some merch. You can become a member on YouTube. That gets you access to the Discord and to live video streams for all the other shows, all that good stuff, exclusive discounts on merch, blah, blah, blah. So those are the ways that you can help support the show. The biggest way is drop that rating or review. Share the show. Make sure you hit the plus sign and automatically download the episodes. That is huge. That is the #1 way we can climb in rankings, is by the more people that subscribe to the show actually say, deliver this to me automatically. That is the fastest way we can grow. So all those ways are things that we appreciate. So we do have some Wolfpack shouting us out. I don't know when somebody gives us a 1-star, do they count as the Wolfpack? I don't know.
And funny thing is like, I don't know. It's like, how do you It's like what Joe Biden said. You can't be pro cop and pro insurrection. I feel like you can't be pro Tansy and anti Mike. That doesn't work.
Sorry, I had things falling from the ceiling on my head while you were talking.
Well, I'm doing a better job. I'm doing a better job of looking at the camera this week, so I didn't see it. Mike. I didn't.
The
see
humidity
it.
in Michigan has caused all of our foam.
Our soundproofing is falling from
I've
the
got
ceiling.
base traps on the ceiling, and now they're starting to fall apart.
Oh my gosh. It is what it is.
Hey, after you do your reviews, I also have a quick mail call too. So.
All right, cool. Well, what do we got by way of review, Underpaid Producer? Thank you, Ben Marsh, for becoming a member. Cinderella Dude, 5 stars. Awesome shows, plural. Since moving, quote, off network, the shows have gotten Betty. Transy and Andrea bring it on Tuesday. Just listen and 5-star them. If you're looking for a metric assload of good content, you found it.
Boy, a metric ass load. That's a lot.
That's a lot. If you can fit a metric anything.
Yeah. Well, who do you think came up with metric fuck ton? Because I've always heard like that's a metric fuck ton. And I'm like, wow, I feel like we have a large scale to scale things. And we had to add metric fuck ton. Like that's only something an American would do.
Yeah, you gotta take and then I don't know, is there a difference between a metric ton and a regular ton?
Is there?
I don't know.
A ton is 2,000 pounds. So if it's a metric ton, is it
What's a metric
2,000
ton?
kilograms, or is it the equivalent of 2,000 pounds in kilograms? And that is a metric ton. And then if you just drop an F-bomb on the front, that's how you make it. That's how you really Americanize it, you know? Go big or go home. That's like a Texas size ton. I don't know. UPP is doing research.
There's a slight difference. A metric ton weighs like 93-ish kilograms more.
Oh, that's close.
A metric ton, because a metric ton is 1,000 kilograms, but just a ton.
Now, what is it?
in
Now,
US standard,
Google
'cause
metric.
Yeah.
2,000 whatever pounds. You know. Oh yeah.
Now Google metric fuck ton and see what the weight is.
Is there an official amount when an F-bomb is added?
10 shitloads per metric fuck ton.
Well, there you have it, folks.
If you're not familiar with this conversion system, there's no need to be embarrassed.
Welcome to America. Speak American.
Freaking awesome, dude. Oh, it's like my favorite part about podcasting is when, you know, like 10 minutes ago, I didn't know that we would be having this conversation, and here we are. It's awesome. I love that. All right, what's the next review here? 5 stars from Sweezy1. 10 out of 10 recommend. Y'all, this podcast is great. Super informative and entertaining at the same time. 4 shows a week that are all diverse in content. This is the only show that I don't skip through the ad reads. They're freaking amazing. If you're addicted to the mainstream media and have closed mind, this podcast isn't for you. That's right, baby. Open minds only right here.
Aww, thank you.
All right, this one's a good one. Tansy, I want you to go ahead and read this one just so that it's objective.
You want me to read it?
That's what I
said. Breards?
Breards don't kill people.
I can't read. Breards. What is a breard?
I don't know.
Am I missing something? Breards don't kill people. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe Bree is a girl's name. Ards are their last names. Breards don't kill people. 0 stars. I see 1 star though, so that's a problem. Tansy is great. Mike makes it unlistenable. Again, you can't be pro Tansy and be anti Mike. It just doesn't work that way. And then like if Tansy's a part of this, why are you giving me 1 star, dude? Like you think 1 star feeds my family, bro? Or girl, Bree? I don't know.
You need the glasses. You need to put the glasses on. You got to recreate it perfect.
Creating a Mikeception.
Yeah.
It's like we have Pride Mike, now we have Unlistenable Mike. It's Unlistenable Mike. You can only see
so
him.
Great. So
You can
great.
only see him.
Well, thanks for the
Thanks,
reviews.
Breard.
Even the 1 stars.
Breard.
See, we don't shy away. We won't tell you only the good news. We'll share the 1-star reviews too. I mean, we appreciate the 5 stars because that's nice. But hey, I got a lot of friends out there in the internet, and I love every one of them, even the ones that hate me.
What does
love you.
Briard? What does Briard rhyme with? Huh?
I don't know.
Briard the.
I got a Tansy, why did you send me a text that says, "Good morning, you look handsome today," while we were on this stream?
It's flirting.
Like, what the heck? I look at my phone. It was
Are you mad that you're being appreciated?
no, it was at 11 o'clock. Good morning. You look, I mean, I appreciate the pick me up. I had somebody message me today. I'll read this to you guys real quick and then we'll dive in. This is from Wolf Doe. Do you consider yourself a sovereign citizen in the aspect of the laws don't apply to you in the same way they apply to the average citizen, kind of like having sovereign immunity? My answer, no. His reply, do you consider yourself a good police officer? And if so, why? My answer, I don't consider myself a good police officer. So I'm curious. I'm waiting. I've been anxiously awaiting he would respond for the show. But yeah, so no, I don't consider myself a good police officer. I don't consider myself a police officer at all, actually. So there you go.
So one of my favorite reviews this week was Tansy, I'm sorry, but your wife is your wife. It's hard to listen to your wife. I can't stand her voice. This episode was almost unlistenable. And I was like, well, one, Andrea is not my wife. And two, like her name was like Jesus Saves, like, or something like that. And I was like, I'm not sure that makes Jesus happy since he made Andrea in his image. But thank you. But like, who wakes up and is so emotionally invested? Listen, if you're emotionally invested in the show, you got to go get therapy. You got to get that checked out, because at the end of the day, we're just guys that really don't mean that much in a grand scheme of things. So if you're so emotionally invested that you're like, you know what? If that is Tansy's wife, and I in fact don't like her voice, I'm going to let Tansy know, as if they're thinking that I'm going to go, I'm getting a divorce. Jesus Saves Lives over here doesn't like the sound of my wife's voice. I can't have that.
It is always like, what? I wonder when I read comments, like what goes through people's minds when they leave.
Do you not have enough time in a day?
Dude,
I've never gone and like left a public comment.
It's so strange
about someone.
It's so strange. Daniels was messaging a few of us yesterday, and he was like, there's people in his DMs saying that he's holding his steak knife wrong. Like, they're complaining about everything in his stories. Like, what lives do these people live or not live that this is what they do? They're like, they see an influencer with, 500,000 people following them, and they're like, this guy needs to know that he's holding a steak knife wrong. I don't like it. What an
idiot.
I need to let him know.
He can't influence 500,000 people.
I like it when they get like genuine.
Wrong.
I like it when they genuinely get mad and they start calling you names, where they're like, why don't you learn to talk more, you cuckold? And you're like, damn. Wow. So like
First of all, how did you know that I like to watch?
Yeah. How do you know that I like to watch? I'm not even gonna go there. It's too much. And so, but why can't all of our fans just be a little bit more like Sarah Kelch, or just be as dumb as Lazaro Lopez and just say stupid shit that's entertaining, right?
There you go. Anyway, that's the housekeeping item. Thanks for the wolf pack.
No, I have a mail call from
mail call.
Notchkin sent me like 20 pounds of Swedish chocolate. At first I was very thankful.
That's
and I was like, wow, Notchkin, it's a metric fuck ton. It's a metric Swedish fuck ton of chocolate. And I was very thankful. Now it has caused chaos in my house because the kids like the chocolate so much, and there's a metric Swedish ton of it, that now my children are like lobbying for the chocolate constantly. Like, Dad, if I eat all my eggs this morning, can I have a piece of chocolate? I'm like, how about you just eat all your eggs or I'll beat your ass? Or it'll be like, hey son, can you grab me some ice while you're up? Only if I can get some of that Swedish chocolate. What? What happened? This is chaos. So I can't wait till it runs out, because I'm done lobbying with these little kids over Swedish chocolates. They're like addicted to it. I don't know what's in it.
Asking Ashley for a kiss. Well, maybe if I get a piece of that chocolate.
Yeah, she's like, maybe we give me a piece of that Swedish chocolate.
Love it.
He says, sorry, mate. No, it's good. They're enjoying the shit out of it. They love it. I mean, I love it too. The thing is, I can't even, this is a true story too. The other day I was sneaking a piece, and it's in a picnic basket on top of the refrigerator. So I slowly move the picnic basket down. I drop it onto the counter. I pull out a piece of chocolate slowly. I close the lid. I slide it back on there. But I go to open the wrapper, and like a wrapper makes noise. And my 4-year-old's like, Dad, are you eating chocolate? And I'm like, you son of a bitch. And then
Kids
the
are
next
like
kid's like,
cats
Dad, I
as
want
soon as
some.
you start to open the treat bag.
Yeah.
It's like they just come running. They hear it from like that backside of the property. Just come running when they hear the chocolate wrapper. It's crazy. Well, enjoy that chocolate, man.
I'm enjoying it. I would send you some, but he sent it like in with like Nordic ice wrapped in like, dude, it must have cost more to ship this shit than it did to like buy the chocolate, because there was like this Nordic ice pack and like this ginormous like insulation cooler inside the box. It was elaborate, man. I was blown away by the generosity of Nijkin. I still can't say his name right, but I'm not that thankful that I'll learn his name.
We need we need Jack Mandeville on here to interpret all the Swedish stuff for us. All right, well let's get to it. Let's see where's Drew Breezy at. Let's introduce our guest. There he is. What's happening? I didn't have a curriculum vitae of all of your accomplishments to introduce you by, but by all means, brother, we would love to hear. I think we're putting up your Instagram handle so that people can connect, and they can maybe call you names too, like they call us names. So,
have at it. I can handle it.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Did you ever think that you should have an Instagram handle that was called Easy Breezy?
Well, no. Drew Breezy was developed out of whole cloth from this sergeant that worked for me. That was, I'll dub him the master of nicknames. He had a way with nicknames. He's an old baseball guy, and one of my favorites was there was a guy named Nash on our platoon, and he was in a couple of wrecks, so he earned the name NASCAR.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Perfect. So here I sit solo by myself and alone in my studio, and I'm glad to be here, guys. I spent close to 29. It was 28 and 11 months, 28 years and 11 months with the same agency, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office down here in Tampa. I started my career as a dispatcher for a couple of years. I made my way onto the road and just took it from there. I was in narcotics for a while, intelligence, blah, blah, blah. I started making rank. I at one point lost rank.
Yeah, that's my man. That's what I'm talking about, man.
Yeah.
That's the only reason we get along, is because like you retired a lieutenant, and you guys know what I say. If you make it to major, captain or major, I'm going to question you, because at that point it's not about the men, it's about yourself. That tells a lot about your character. But what speaks a lot about your character is that you got out as a lieutenant.
I think that I remained a middle manager because I was not a yes person. Yeah. I was not a yes man. Like I was just a man, basically. So like, if I thought what we were doing was wrong, I wasn't a contrarian. Like I'm not going to do it just to piss people off. And, that kind of goes with the tone and the theme of today's show. I'm not the contrarian just to piss the public off or to my fellow cops, like I'm not here to piss anybody off, but I just kind of had a strange way of looking at things, maybe, or evaluating them critically. So maybe that's not so strange or whatever. But in that 29 years, I was educated enough or just had experienced enough to not want to repeat the same mistakes and not let anybody get hurt and that's cops or public. So that's kind of the story of me. I mean, I as I told both you, Eric and Mike, that I left kind of early. I retired a little bit early. Like I was in a deferred retirement. So I was basically making 2 paychecks, and I was comfortable leaving because I wanted to be able to do this, like to speak on behalf of the cops that can't speak anymore, to be honest. And I'm not a martyr. I made some good money in my career and invested and I made some good money in the drop, but I wanted to be able to do this. And then if this fails, like social media or whatever, I could always just sit on the couch and do nothing.
Well, you know what? You followed our show, and I didn't know that because we have a lot of people that follow our show. I mean, no big deal, humble brag, but a lot of people follow our show. And I was down in Hillsborough and found out that the helicopter pilots listened to our show on the surround sound there in Hillsborough. And by the way, Hillsborough has like 3 or 4 helicopters in their unit. They have boat teams. I mean, Hillsborough County is like you guys are like one of the, like the regional SWAT team for like the whole area. Like you guys are like the guy, like your SWAT team is like one of the hottest SWAT teams.
They are definitely one of the hottest SWAT teams. I couldn't speak to who they represent or what they do, but they've always had the reputation of being top notch. And I've also had an imperial fuck ton of respect for those guys. I mean,
they have a lot of special operators on that team. And so one of the guys that I served in the military with is on that team, and I stayed with him, and he brought your name up as Drew Breezy and was like talking to me about it. I was like, whoa,
Didn't he win the NFL?
There's a guy that follows us, Drew Breezy. Didn't he? Wasn't he a football player, Drew Breezy?
Yeah, sports.
Yeah,
that's Drew Brees is, I think, the genesis of Drew Breezy, and that the sergeant came up with. Like you'd have to ask him the rest. I have my opinion of what he meant by that, but I'm just gonna assume that it was good.
But they and he's probably one of the best guys I know. And he said like that Drew Breezy, man, that guy's awesome, dude. He was a great supervisor. He's a great leader. And I was like, wow. So I ended up reaching out to you. I think I called you or I gave you my number or something. And we were going to meet up at some point when I was in St. Pete, and I ended up getting bogged down by something else. But it's cool that we've gotten to develop kind of this relationship through social media and have you on the show. And so, I figure if that guy speaks very highly of you, then I need to take a look. And then I was following you, and you had a bunch of followers, and then all of a sudden you went off the radar, and then you came back and you're building your followers back up. What happened?
I was hacked. Just about as most things in my life, like I'm so good at standing at the pulpit and telling people what not to do and how to survive this life, and then immediately turning around and doing it. And I got this text from this or DM from a guy who like started following me again. He's a close friend and a SWAT operator, as a matter of fact. And he I was like, he just sent me this thing like, hey, my girlfriend is in the running to be it was like a Maximum model or something. Like I might be dating myself there, but like all you have to do is click this link and then screenshot that you click the link. And I'm like, man, this just does not look right. I'm walking around a Home Depot. I'm sizing up MDF, and I'm trying to have this conversation with who I thought was Scott. And we'll call him Scott for the purposes of this story because that's his real name. So
I was gonna say.
So Scott's he's pushing and pushing and pushing, and I'm looking at prices, and I'm like $17, $13, and I'm like, okay, dude, okay. So I pressed the thing like your freaking girlfriend, and I'm thinking, he's probably not too savvy with social media. I mean, here I am, the arrogant prick. So I did it, and then I screenshot whatever they needed me to screenshot, and then I subsequently started getting texts like almost immediately. I hadn't even made it to the plumbing section, and it was like, hey man, are you into cryptocurrency now, or why are you asking me for money? So I did my digging and I did my research, and that meme of like, I'm the captain now, like I'm Drew Breezy now. It was guys out of Nigeria, and they had a blast with my account, man. And so I literally gave up. This became okay, well, this is your moment to sit on the couch. This is what God wants you to do, just eat ice cream. So I just like slowly but surely I started, I was like, look, no one's going to defeat me in this thing. The Nigerians aren't going to defeat me in this. And I'm going to take my Instagram account back because it's mine. And Instagram is absolutely no help, by the way.
No,
they're terrible. Meta, Facebook, any of them. Yeah. So, who is a big help is YouTube. So I found this YouTube in this like fitness model. Look, I was looking at her for the instructions.
A theme. You're going to click on something about a Maxim model. You're going to go to YouTube to look. I'm picking up a little bit of a stream of consistency here.
Well, I am a man. So, I watched this video, and she was fully clothed, and she gave me all these instructions about what to do, but it was very explicit, and it was like very, man, you got 10 seconds to do, it was like, there's a lot of pressure involved in this thing. It was like very Tom Cruise movie. So I couldn't think of the name of the Tom Cruise movie, but it was very cocktail. It was very like pressure filled. Like you got to click this, and then before that you got to change your password, and then you got to remember. And I'm Drew Breezy one, like underscore. So finally I got my account back, and then I just kind of caught fire from there a little bit. Like I think that was like a new wave of inspiration. That gave me the fire. Like you do own your Instagram account, buddy. Get back out there. So I kind of caught fire with that. And then
when do you write your book? When do you write your book? How you survived being hacked by the Nigerians?
That might be chapter 9, but it's coming.
I'm the captain now. A tale of Instagram survival.
Totally, man. Totally. They got me good.
Hey, listen,
I'm Drew Breezy now.
As we go in, there was a comment up there. If you scroll up, Elijah, it was from a Jeremy Miller, I think. Right there it is. Cool. So people disagree with you on Uvalde, so you bring on someone who agrees with you instead of someone like Mike Glover, so there's an actual conversation instead of a self-sucking dick. Okay. First of all, to be 100% honest, I have no idea what Drew's take is on this. Contrary to popular belief, I watch next to no one on social media. So I don't, I follow, I interact sometimes with people, comment or DMs and things like that. I don't sit on my phone and watch people's content. I genuinely have zero idea what Drew's take is. He could disagree with me completely. I don't know. So we're just bringing on someone who is actually putting in work at research. Here's the reality, Jeremy Miller. And you're one of them. I offered publicly on my Instagram and on this show, I offered publicly $1,000 to anyone who would come on live with me and be able to, if they could clearly articulate, if they could bullet point what I have said and what my position is on Uvalde accurately, I would give them $1,000. It was a public challenge. And guess what? Every person that DM'd me with hate about Uvalde that I offered that challenge to disappeared into the wind. Not a single person has done it. The challenge still stands. The problem isn't that we might disagree. The problem is that people are incapable of actually explaining what the other person thinks on the other side of the disagreement. So part of this whole thing is the internet, or you, Jeremy. Here's a hard reality check for all of the Jeremys of the world. I don't work on your timeline. I don't respond to your demands. I don't have to do anything for you. I don't owe you anything. Eric doesn't owe you anything. Drew doesn't owe you anything. The three of us don't have to do what we're doing right now. We are not here on your timeline. We're not here to respond in a way that you wish we would because that's what you think. That's not how the world works. I don't know if you got participation trophies. I don't know if your mom cut you off from the teat too fast. I don't know what your issue is. But we're just taking our time with this, and we're going step at a time. We're not shying away from it. And
yeah, like our only take on Uvalde was that we're not going to make a judgment until all the facts come out. And then we gave you a bunch of what ifs, and we were like, okay, like what if it was this and it was not that? Like, we don't want to crucify these guys until we know what's going on. I still, at the end of the day, I don't, think that that's a bad take on it. So, sorry, Jeremy.
Yeah, well, this is part of it, right? Hindsight is 2022, because in 2022, dude, not even hindsight is good enough anymore. It's like we want pre-sight. We want pre-sight. Yeah. We want Minority Report. We want to know ahead of time. It's kind of crazy. So, yeah, Jeremy, I didn't say that you DM'd me with hate. I'm just talking about in general. But Jeremy makes a comment here. You come into the comments and talk about a self-sucking dick and think that I'm going to take you any sort of semblance of seriousness because you're acting like a child. And I actually have an intellectual prowess that I will smash you with. And I'll do it with everybody else that's dashing hate. It's not about, you just didn't listen again. This isn't about disagreeing. I'm not an idiot. There's any number of issues. Somebody is always going to disagree with you. It's about how you conduct yourself in that disagreement. And if somebody on the other side calls me names, which has happened from notable people, they've called me names, they've made it personal. I can't control them, but I haven't done that to anybody else, and I won't. And we haven't publicly called out anybody on this show and called them names or mocked them. We've simply tried to stick to the issue and continue to ask questions that are coming up for us legitimately. But I digress on all the rest of that stuff. Why don't we go ahead and dive in, Drew? What is your take? Give us the first, I guess, the 30,000 foot Uvalde take. Your exposure to this from when you first saw it to as evidence has unfolded, just the general thing before we dive deeper.
First and foremost, remembering the 19 children and the two teachers that were killed tragically.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, in the timeline, there's always debate about when they died, and that's because people like to point fingers, and understandably, the country probably went through a few stages of grief in this whole thing, and it's understandable. It's a horrific tragedy that 19 kids can't go show up to their fourth grade class and just have a literal field day, because that's what it was. And they were murdered instead. I mean, yeah, that's horrible. My 30,000 foot take is, if you're a cop or if you're in the general public, slow down. There's the horror is over. There should not be a rush to judgment until all of the facts come out. And I say this for guys like Jeremy. I don't know if he's a cop or not, but if in this profession, if you're a cop and you expect to lead a bunch of other cops, don't expect to get too far if you see a snippet of video and hear someone else say something about a bad incident and say, well, we got blood on our hands and we're done with this. Sorry, guys, I'm about to throw you under the bus and let's just move on. It's not going to work well from a leadership standpoint.
And some people are under the impression that all the facts are out, and that's just simply not true.
That's not true at all.
That's just a the sky is not brown. It is blue. I mean, I don't know what to tell you if you think all the facts are out. You're just completely wrong. I mean, that's just all there is to it. So continue. But yeah, because some people feel like because there's this video and because the Texas DPS has made statements that all the facts are done, that the investigation is done. But that's just not true.
Well, we have three major sources also. We have the alert, which is the law enforcement rapid response from the University of Texas. They're the predominant body in active shooter training. We have their after actions, and they sat in on interviews. We have Director McCraw's testimony in front of the Texas House, which was televised and transcribed, so you can read that. And we also have an interim report that was just released, in my opinion, suspiciously on a Sunday evening. And the purpose of saying, it says right in the report, it's probably the most objective document I've read so far, but what it says in the report is, look, this investigation is nowhere near over. This is an interim report for a reason. It's to get information out for the families out of respect to them, because we've waited too long, and we're definitely in a transparent world. We're in a world of social media that you need instant gratification. You want to know information right now. And it's understandable if your fourth grader was shot and killed by some deranged lunatic, that you'd probably want answers as to why the cops didn't do what they did, or why the school system didn't do what they did. So they published this interim report, and I'm urging you to read it. I saw mention of the name Mike Glover. I'm just a guy with 200 followers on YouTube. I'm not interested in engaging in war or debate, but I did a video where I debunked a lot of Mike Glover's video. He makes some of these assertions, and I don't. They're not correct. I mean, and I can give you page number that shows you where he's not correct. And again, like, all respect in the world to him. He's a Green Beret, and he's got a very successful company and a very successful following. I have no interest in debunking the man. I just want to debunk the myth that he's perpetuating, because from a societal standpoint, we as cops are already taking enough beating. There's already cops second guessing when to shoot somebody. There's cops second guessing when to arrest somebody. And, sometimes having the opposite effect of, well, this is a black guy, we're never going to get away with this arrest, It's not going to hold up in court. So with all of the second guessing that is going on and the trauma that it kind of perpetuates in the industry itself, you're seeing violent crime rates rise. You're seeing a mass exodus in the profession, if you haven't read the paper lately. And what is most alarming to me is you're seeing an increase in suicides within the profession itself. And that comes due in part, in my opinion, because of societal pressures. We can't do anything right and we can't do anything wrong. No. I take that back. We can't do anything right. We do everything wrong is what I meant. It seems that way anyway. And there is a whole silent majority out there, regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of their religious background or their ethnicity, or even what they identify as, for Christ's sake. There's a whole silent majority out there that supports law enforcement, but sometimes they're too afraid to even say it. And so we pay way too much attention on social media to the people that are the naysayers. And to me, when you recklessly throw around the word coward and you say that these guys were cowards without full facts, or even using bad facts from, misrepresentations from social media influencers, even the conservative influencers, you're not doing the profession any good, and you're getting people hurt, both civilian and law enforcement.
Right. Because every single officer that was there has to give a full account. And then even then, there's going to be conversations had where 3 of them are going to have been perceiving something as one thing, while one of them was like, well, no, I thought this. And they'd be like, no, it was this. And they'd be like, oh, that explains this. There's so many, and we've said this from the beginning, there's so many wires to untangle in this. I mean, it's 376 officers ish responded to this. So yeah, so that's why we've been given pause to this, to go way, way slow, because again, the same question has popped into my head. What's more likely, that 376 cops were cowards, or there's something more to understand about what happened, good and bad? Because we've said some of this response looks like a total gaggle, like confusion, communication breakdowns, poor preparation, poor equipment, leadership issues. Maybe, I don't know. Like, I can't make these. I feel that it's a big deal to make a moral designation about another human without me feeling very confident about all of the facts of something to do that. This isn't a single incident where you've got one cop and one perpetrator and a set of one victim, and the whole thing is caught on camera, and it's a singular incident. This is a mass casualty, multi-jurisdictional response, and they are not the same thing. It's not, you cannot get to a conclusion as fast as you can with the other one. And I don't care that you've seen video, okay? Because I've been doing this, well, as a career, and Eric did this as a career. But in addition to living this, I've been spending 8 years of my life reviewing police incidents, okay? And many, many, many times what you see on video doesn't explain a lot. It doesn't explain what you don't see on video. It doesn't explain the perceptions of the person who is behind that camera. There's all sorts of factors like that. So, Drew,
for me, the whole thing about the Uvalde thing, and why I've taken the stance of waiting, right, is I got to participate in one of the larger active shooter training events that has taken place in Raleigh, and they took an entire building that they were going to tear down and put into something else, and it was an empty building right in the middle of downtown, and they pulled a couple of guys off the street from different agencies, fire, EMS, and they said, hey guys, there's an active shooter training in this building, and we want to see how you guys respond and what you guys do. proceed from here? So I got into my cop car. I did turn on my lights and sirens, drove safely. This is training, right? With a blue gun with sim rounds and everything. Unplanned on my part, but planned out by the reality-based training squad. And so I arrived on scene, and then there were some guys I didn't know. We end up entering the building. We see an exchange in a hallway at a T intersection, and two guys take off one way, and the other guy takes off shooting. But the guy that took off shooting really appeared to be a police officer. So we actually moved down the hallway, got down the hallway, and we're actually backing this guy up, thinking that the other two guys that he's shooting at were actually the bad guys, when at the end of the day, this was the fake active shooter. And so anyway, the training scenario ended, and there was just mass chaos. One, our radios did not work inside the building, which is very common, that your radios don't work in a building that has elevators in it, or there's several schools that our radios just don't work in those brick walls. And, we learned that we got target fixated on the bad guy, and at one point thought he was the good guy. Nobody rendered any kind of first aid or thought to pull out. Hang on, guys. This was 3 years ago. Nobody thought to pull out a cell phone and call because the radios weren't working. But we've just murdered a dude that was on his cell phone during an active shooter. And why was he on his cell phone? And why? But in that training event, we were actually like, hey, yeah, you guys' radio didn't work. Nobody had any kind of open lines of communication. Why didn't anybody pick up a cell phone? We could have started moving dead people out. If you knew that you were on the second floor and that you had your suspect pinned down, why weren't you guys getting? And, these are all things that, hindsight, you're like, shit, dude. Yeah. But it was that training that then leads you to know for the next time. But what if the active shooter had happened before that training? Those mistakes all would have been made. And so again, it goes back to falling to the level of training that you have. It didn't make us cowards that we weren't able to get done what was supposed to get done. It just made us not in the know. And that same training scenario, the next day, they added in a hostage scenario where it went from active shooter to hostage. And I believe this was a federally funded event as well. So at one of the biggest events training wise, we actually trained active shooter going to a barricaded hostage situation. So for anybody to get on the interwebs and tell you that it's an active shooter and that an active shooter can't be a hostage or a barricaded subject is wrong.
Mike Glover said in his video, and I highlighted it. He curiously used the term, this guy had X amount of hours to barricade himself. So, this is the expert that everybody wants to agree with. And again, I'm not picking on him. I'm not trying to create a war with the guy. He's obviously got the tactics down. I don't know. I think they're a little bit different than law enforcement tactics, but
sure. No one's taken away from anyone's operational experience in their field, for sure.
No. But even he's using the word barricaded subject. So why to me, the question is, why is it so out of the ordinary for this chief of police who didn't know he was in command, and I can get into that in a second, to think that he has a barricaded subject? I really don't know that it's that far out of league for someone to think that. Now, people are always going to talk about, well, you should have just assumed that there were kids in the classroom. And there should never be a time where any of us say, well, there were zero mistakes made. I don't think anyone here has ever said that. I've never heard any cops say that. Like, there were
a million percent. When the facts are done, we can break it all down. We can identify exactly where things that should have been done that weren't, or could have been done that now we learn to adapt and improve our future responses to similar things. Yeah. Where if anybody was actually a coward, it'll get vetted out who it was, who actually was a coward versus who wasn't in that day, who was evacuating kids out of the room that, because nobody asked that question. Well, where did all the kids go in that? Well, they were getting evacuated by who? I don't know. Cops that weren't cowards, right. So
some lady that jumped the fence evacuated all those kids.
Yeah. And a lot of the times these statements that have made it into the mainstream media or the psyche of people on social media never even happened, that were proven to be false. So I
always go back to it with all the combat veterans is, the same thing that happened here is the same thing that happened kind of with Black Hawk Down. Guys didn't have proper equipment. They didn't have night vision goggles. Nobody had trained on how to get somebody out of a downed helicopter. Nobody pre-planned for somebody falling out of a helicopter. There were vehicles that weren't armored. They were retreats or tactical fallbacks that they had to kind of figure out. And at one point, one commander was like, no, we don't ever retreat. We're not leaving. And they're like, well, we kind of have to do something because we don't have any more bullets and we've got wounded that are dying. And there was just so many things that went wrong, but we didn't call those guys cowards. We didn't call them incompetent. We said, okay, these guys did the best that they could
under the situation.
And we have learned so much from, I mean, urban tactical tactics or small unit tactics in an urban environment really didn't even exist for conventional forces until after Black Hawk Down.
Well, let's talk about military response versus law enforcement response. And this is not an excuse. This is reality. So when military is not at war, they're training, and that's the way it should be. We're a highly trained, society in the military, and I'm a vet myself, so I'm not denigrating any veteran. But even say Rob O'Neill, like, I'm just throwing that name out. He killed Osama bin Laden. So they came to Rob O'Neill or the SEAL team he was on and said, hey, we got a mission for you, and it's top secret, but we have constructed an entire city and an entire building that mocks that's similar to what you're about to get into. And they, however many times, for 30 straight days, lived, ate, slept, breathed in that mock city. So when it came time to pull the mission, they did it flawlessly, and thank God. But here's the operational response of a police officer. You're at the urinal at the Wawa.
Yes.
And your radio starts crackling and you hear active shooter at the Citrus Park Town Center. And you're like, did she just say there's an active shooter at the mall? And your response plan is, okay, I remember from in-service, we're supposed to drive the threat. Like, look, it goes way beyond that. I truly believe that Hillsborough has some of the top-notch training, and that's another thing. We're a big agency in a big city, so we have the luxury, just like you talked about in Raleigh, Eric, with scenario-based training. Like, we have the luxury of having great training, but your operational plan is, okay, let me put the car and drive, and then I'll pick, I don't know, the Macy's entrance, and we'll see, and then you get on the radio and you ask, well, what's the guy wearing? And they're like, just look for the guy with the gun, dummy. I mean, that's how a law enforcement response goes. And it's mass confusion, and it's total chaos. And that is where you see maybe not necessarily the cowards and the heroes rise, but that's where you see the people who have fallen back on training, but have been properly trained. That's where you see that cream rise to the top, because their hard drive is not consumed with thinking about other things like, oh my God, there's bullets coming at me. They know that they can take cover and start looking at their cell phone for a live stream or whatever it is. Like, I'm just making up scenarios at this point, but
yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, the biggest mistake that I feel like is identifiable right now is a place like Uvalde basically feeling like this can't happen here. And that's where I feel like the overall,
that's what's going to happen.
The overall I can guarantee you there was never any cross training between Uvalde police, the county, Uvalde School District police, and federal agencies at a mass casualty event. There was never any cross training like that. I know because I've asked these questions to people who know that those things weren't trained for. So now you end up in a crazy mass casualty situation where everyone responding has never trained together, and not a lot of people know what's even actually going on. And
here's the thing: when you have something like that, you're also going to have the guy, right, that does kind of know what he's doing, and he's going to be like, this is a clusterfuck. Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. You're always going to have that guy, right? So then the media hears this, and they're like, well, wait, that guy's saying it's a clusterfuck, and he says that nobody's going. So let's go interview him. And it's like, I talk a lot of the airsoft guys, they like to blow me up with this, and I can tell that they're airsofters because you look at their videos, you're like, man, this guy's a cool cop. And then you're like, oh, no, it's just an airsofter. But, I challenge, I say, hey, man, listen, like if you go in and link up with one of these other airsoft teams and you go do a little airsoft operation, and jumble that all up, take people from both sides and then put them together and give them an objective, you're going to have dudes that are know-it-alls, and they're going to be making fun of the people who aren't. And those guys are going to think that they're know-it-alls and that those guys aren't. And you're just going to have bickering back and forth. And people are saying like they're incompetent and they're stupid. When at the end of the day, you're probably both really good airsoft team guys or whatever your group is. But when you put everybody together, yeah, that's what happens. That's why they call it a clusterfuck, because you're taking a cluster of people and things get fucked up. I have a question for Drew though. As from some of the video that you have seen, off the bat, what are some of the mistakes that, we talk about hindsight being 2022. Where do you think the communication breakdown, you have worked dispatch and you have worked the field and you've been very successful at both. Where do you think the key takeaway in the breakdown of communication starts? Are we able to put blame on somebody at this point for that? Or is it just a wash? We don't know yet, but where do you think what's your opinion on the communication?
I think we're able to put blame on not preparing the communications people right after Columbine. If you look at any after action report, see, here's the thing. I did start as a dispatcher. What I left out was 25 years later, I came back to run the exact same comm center I started in. So I was up there during Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. We had a couple of close call active shooter events ourselves. And I'm going to tell you right now, the first thing to go is communications, as in your comm center. So they're going to be overwhelmed with 911 calls, first of all, if the 911 call even makes it in there. And that's where your best intel is coming from. Secondly, we talk about the radios. There's nothing. These buildings are built for hurricanes. They're built to withstand Category 5 hurricanes or tornadoes or whatever to protect these kids. What makes you think a VHF signal or a UHF signal is going to penetrate that? And even at that, like a Wi-Fi signal is not always, unless they have Wi-Fi repeaters in the building. So if you look at any after-action report, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, if you look at Sandy Hook, if you look at 9/11, the first thing that go is the communication center. So even in your scenario-based training, Eric, I guarantee, I can almost guarantee that beyond saying, hey, someone call the comm center, tell them we're going to be on special event 15 and to monitor it, nobody ever integrates them into the exercise. And I think that's hugely important.
Find a street cop, at a street level cop under 5 years, and tell him to find special events 15 on a fucking radio.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Well, under the pressure of an active shooter, I mean.
I used to hate that when it was like, we're doing a deal with the narcs or something like that, and we're the takedown unit. Like, hey guys, why don't you guys go to TAC Ops 13 and go to make sure it's encrypted? And you're like, yeah, okay.
Right,
yeah, because I can barely get
side.
I could barely get to Downtown District's channel, much less whatever the fuck you just said, dude. Like, how about you write that down? So, again, it's something we don't think about. And in our case, in our after-action review, it was nobody had a cell phone. And they talk to you like you're a dum-dum. Good. That's great, because that's how we're being treated here on social media. But it's like, oh, nobody critically thought enough to put out a cell phone. Oh, but you know what? You guys have beat us over the head about being on a cell phone in uniform. So that's just not an option, because I'm not supposed to have my cell phone while I'm in uniform. But now you're saying...
They beat a guy in this incident over the head for being on a cell phone in uniform. Right.
Yeah. Exactly. So, it's, and we second guess, and the hindsight is 2022. And it's just, like you said, it's very dangerous, man. It's very dangerous for cops. And we're seeing critical mistakes being made. I think that more mistakes are being made because of this event, when we could have taken this event and really deduced and looked at it maturely and critically thought to say, hey guys, listen, Raleigh does as much as, I give Raleigh a hard time. Raleigh, one of the best trained departments in North Carolina for sure. But immediately after Uvalde, one of the guys from the SWAT team called me and said, hey, you might want to put this on your show, maybe not. But one thing that we've learned so far from Uvalde is we are now doing a training class next Saturday for breaching. And we've now given breaching tools to every supervisor, every shift supervisor. So though that now that we're learning that the breaching thing wasn't really the key, that maybe the door was locked or unlocked, but within 3 or 4 days, Raleigh said, oh my God, if that did happen here, we're not ready for that. So let's go ahead and get ready for that. And then another thing that just rolled out here in Wake County is a magnetic door lock system that they're changing in all of the schools. Whoa. Well, why do you think an intelligence operation in Raleigh is going to spend millions of dollars on some kind of new magnetic locking system for doors in schools if they didn't learn something from looking at these reports that you discussed? They looked at these reports and said, oh no, we're going to look really bad because our doors don't lock. And just maybe that's why DPS is kind of like, oh, well, we're going to put as much blame on everybody else because that school's like, we made a lot of mistakes too in securing that school. So
a lot of people forgot that DPS was also there.
Yeah.
So whatever blame the DPS representative was putting in the hearing,
yeah,
somebody in the hearing actually asked him, called him on the carpet, like, hey, weren't your guys there too? And he didn't have an answer for it. Again, you can go listen to this stuff for yourself. But my question is this, is you referenced a report that I have not had time to go into, this latest report to come out that I'm drawing a total blank on.
The interim report?
The interim report. Yeah. I've read the alert. We covered that on our second episode about Uvalde, but this interim report, what are the key takeaways for you in the interim report compared and contrasted with pop culture media representation of the event?
It's broken down by, instead of pointing fingers, it points inadequacies, and it's an adult document, and you have to approach it and read it with an adult. I hate to say it, you have to have the emotional intelligence to read what it says, because people get so out of whack or just get so upset when a police officer says, well, if the doors were locked, we wouldn't have this problem. Oh, you're blaming the teachers now. Well, no, not necessarily. I'm not blaming any teachers, but the school board does have a responsibility to protect your children on the days that they're there. Yes or no? And there's so let me get back to what your question is. It breaks down to kind of, here's what we found about the school. I think that's why probably the principal was placed on administrative leave. There were some pretty remarkable things that were discovered, like the locked, it wasn't the lock that was broken in room 111, by the way, it was the catch. So it wasn't this part. This part was probably locked. We don't know. This part probably was not locked. So it's possible that the shooter could have locked it. Nobody can say definitively that door was open or unopened.
You know what's funny is that now that you mentioned that, the old Southeast District station, the station that I grew up in, if you're leaving the station, the door handle is locked. The door handle is locked, but you can pull the door open. But from the outside, the handle goes free flowing, but you can't push it open. So it's locked on the side that you can actually, all you have to do is push the door open. But on the outside, the handle moves, it articulates full up, full down. I'm saying this for the listeners, but the door won't open. Whereas on the inside, the door will not articulate up and down. It only, it's like a locked door. So if you were in a scenario where you needed to get outside and there was an active shooter outside and you went and checked that door, you'd be like, shit, this door is locked, because it doesn't. But really all you have to do is push that door open. So that's a very interesting thing that I didn't even think about, is that, that door could have had the same kind of locking mechanism that they use for the old Southeast Raleigh District Police Station.
It was push bar on the inside. It's a steel door that opens out, fire rated, with a very small strip of safety glass, safety glass. And it's a push bar that goes out to allow exit. So that same push bar can be pulled in to make sure that the door seats in the hasp. That was covered in the hearing. That's also covered in the after action, both after actions, as a matter of fact. So the only people that would know whether that door was unlocked or not are the breachers, and they used a key. And that is specifically listed in the Robb Elementary interim report. That's one of the things that Glover says, look, the door was completely unlocked. They didn't need a key at all. Those doors were open. No, nobody can say that for sure. The breachers, the Commander Guerrero from Bortac said, I inserted the key in the door, I twisted it, it unlocked the door, and we went inside.
And
interesting. Go ahead.
Sorry, I apologize for interrupting. It's just interesting that there's not always nefarious reasons. But the DPS came out, they had to double back on statements that they made.
Yeah.
Because facts continue to emerge. As police departments, we have to stop resisting the demand for information faster than it's actually confirmed.
Well, this is the vicious cycle. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Mike. This is the demand for transparency, and we want the information now. And if you don't, it looks like you're hiding something. And then if you give contradictory information, it looks like you're hiding something. And look, I get it. Law enforcement agencies crave legitimacy. We have to have legitimacy in the community in order to effectively operate. And we should never let our authority overshadow our service. Service is number one. That's it. But the rush for information to keep up with the social media misinformation, we are never going to keep pace. Mm-hmm. So it's in your best interest as an administrator, in my opinion, again, I never made it beyond middle management, to slow down, and evaluate all of the facts. In this piecemealing of information, I mean, I don't know. Is it productive or is it counterproductive? The way I'm seeing things now, you have cops turning on cops at this point.
Oh yeah.
And I don't see I don't see where this is going to prevent the next active shooter. I see that this is going to undermine law enforcement's authority, and people in the media or Hollywood heroes are going to say, look, even the cops think the cops are dumb.
Yeah.
So
I'm still confused. I'm still confused on, are we warriors or are we protectors? Because
right. Well,
everybody didn't like us 5 years ago because we were warriors, and they got rid of warrior mindset training, which was all that Colonel Grossman, mentality stuff that they were preaching across academies, which I had no problem with. But then they said, we're going to get rid of that training and we're going to go to this new protector type mentality. But now we're going back to, like, we want all of our cops to be Navy SEALs again. Again, that's
you can't have outer vest carriers. That looks mean and intimidating. That's right. We have too much military equipment. What police department would ever need any type of MRAP vehicle, or why would they need exterior vests? Completely ignoring and then again, something like this happens and you're like, you expect them to drop in and rappel down out of helicopters into the classroom and take care of business. What do you want?
I would urge you to, I would just one last thought on this. I would urge you to look at the press conference that Chief Eddie Garcia did. He's the Dallas PD chief, and he just did a press conference about the shooting that occurred at Love Field, the airport. Mm-hmm. There's an officer that averted an active shooter there. She was mentally deranged and blah, blah, blah. And he gave the most poignant, I like the guy. I'll be honest with you. I've never worked for him. I didn't know anything about him. I guess he, did his career in California and became the Dallas police chief. But he said exactly what you're saying, Eric. He said, look, you can be a warrior and a protector, and I'm about to show you a video of how that's possible. So, I mean, to me, it was a lesson in leadership to watch this guy give that press conference.
Yeah. What else did you notice as far as the interim report goes that stood out to you compared to popular notion?
The breakdown itself was poignant. So it talked about where the school erred, and it really gave a kind of a comprehensive view of the shooter. And listen, I'm not sympathizing with this guy. I'm glad he's dead, to be honest. And that's hard for me to say, even because he's a human being, and I get it. But he's a murderous human being. He killed 19 cops. I think it's safe to say that. I think I'll still, Jesus will be fine with that. But here's the deal. This kid was bullied in school, and I'm not one to throw around the term bully. He was bullied in school. This blew me away. This gave me chills. He was bullied in school. At one point, he had just a scrawny kid. He had his shoes tied together and he smashed his face. Guess where that was, though? That was in room 112 in Robb Elementary, where he was in the fourth grade. Mm-hmm. So he specifically chose the room where he was bullied to exact his revenge. And to me, that was just like a chilling detail that I didn't even think of. And then you think, well, man, that was so long ago. No, it wasn't. It was 9 years ago. The kid was only 18 years old. So he was what, 9 in the rule of fives. He was 9 years old in the 4th grade. That was only 9 years ago. So he remembers.
I think it's crazy. You know, we talk about bullying and stuff, and people throw that word around a lot in regards to this. But the same people that throw that around and put the same memes up, they do the same thing and I get it a lot on social media, right? Because you know, one day, I think this is why a lot of influencers do this, where they put up their hate mail, because it shows you how mean and how rude people are. Like, I don't go out and say bad things about you. Like, I don't go out and say bad things about other influencers, but you come on here and call me a cuckold because of my opinion, or you come and call me a bitch, or, you know, a fucktard. And I think at the end of the day, like, you know, I don't go around and throw those words out, and I don't go around and I don't be mean to people. Like, I try to be a nice guy to people. If somebody cuts me off, you know, big urge of mine is to say, you fucking cunt. But what I really do is I go, you know what? I hope he cut me off because he's late to work, and he's late to work because his kid shit his, you know, pants on the way to school, and he had to change the outfit, and now he's going to lose his job, and he's not going to be able to whatever. You know, I'm going to give this guy the benefit of the doubt.
He woke up to Swedish chocolate spilled everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. You know, but it's funny that, like, so many people, there's more people that are bullies than they realize. And a great is just go to our YouTube channel and go through some of the comments. You know, you got a lot of people who lift you up, and then you got a lot of people that say that girl wears too much makeup and she looks like she belongs at a manager at a low income town Hooters. You know, just like mean, ridiculous, heinous things. That's like, man, good thing that we have strong minds, because if we didn't, this is kind of why some of these Uvalde guys do some of the shit they do. Because
in my bio, I have I've been sober for 13 years and counting. I have never been called a drunk or an addict more in the last month in my entire lifetime. Like, because when you hit people with facts, and again, sometimes I stoop to their level. I get it. Like, they bait me and I fall for it sometimes.
I do it all the time.
I've been there.
But you know, you got them on the facts when they go to, well, you were probably drunk your whole career anyway. You're probably drunk right now. You know what I mean? Like, you got nothing other than what you read in my bio. Like, no, as a matter of fact, it'll be 14 years in late August. So go fuck yourself.
Yeah. And I've always said,
ad hominem attack.
I do always say that we, you know, there's a fine line between shaming and bullying. And I think we should bring shaming back. Like, but, you know, you got to do your shaming in a way that it, you know, and I'm referencing Tyler Durden here. You gotta shame people so that they're not weirdos, right? You got to tell them, like, hey, you're kind of fucking up, but you don't have to do that by, like, tying their shoes together and having them smash their fucking face on the floor. Like, you don't have to flush their head down the fucking toilet. You don't have to follow them around and go out of your way to comment on every post. You know what happens when I don't like somebody or I think somebody's a weirdo? I unfollow them, I block them, and I don't look at anything in their life. What I don't do is wait for them to comment, to make a picture of their kid with a brand new bow in their hair and be like, hey, you're a bitch because your Uvalde episode is why you don't have any sponsored, you cuck boy. You know, I don't, that's bullying, right? Like, shaming would just be like, I don't know. But, you know, there is a difference between shaming somebody and bullying somebody. And I'm not saying that this guy, it wasn't his fault. Like, this guy's a piece of shit.
No. Yeah, right. Like, that's what I'm saying. That's a fine line. Like,
because you got your shoes tied together doesn't negate that you're still a murderous fucking piece of shit. What it says is, also, let's learn from that and maybe not tie people's fucking shoes together and let them smash their face on the floor. Maybe we just say, like, hey, homeboy, you may not be able to afford deodorant, but you smell bad. And I'm saying this offline because I don't want you to get your shoes tied together. And I've actually bought you some fucking deodorant, and I'm going to ask you to wear it because you fucking stink. Like, that's shaming, not bullying.
Yeah, there's a greater social issue with this kid, with the kid in Illinois, with the Tops shooter in my, you know, neck of the. I was born and raised in Western New York. I mean, there's a common theme. They're all very young, you know, relatively speaking, white males that just were loners, or so there's probably some kind of common theme or greater social issue that we can determine. But I mean, like, they all gave off the signals, they all gave off the warnings, they all pretty much said, this is what I'm going to do, and nobody stopped them from doing it. And then when they do it, it's all of a sudden a big shock, and it's the police's fault, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the whole thing with the Murdoch murder breakdown that we're doing, that you allow these 14-year-olds, these 15-year-olds to drink heinous amounts. You loan them your boat. You drive them to another adult oyster party, feed them shots at the adult party, have other adults saying, hey, guys, why don't y'all call an Uber? You probably shouldn't get on the boat. And then these kids get on the boat, and then kids die, and then cover-ups, and then murder, and all these things. And everybody's shocked that these like good old boys with lots of money ran into some problems. And you're like, well, at the end of the day,
what did you guys
kind of perpetuated all of this. Like,
right.
Come on.
Right.
Well, hey, listen, I know that we could go on forever. What I would like to do, what I'd like to propose, and it really depends on our fans and what our fans feel like. If you think we should bring on Drew Breezy for a special where we break down, this isn't going to be a Friday breakdown. This will be a private special thing, maybe for our members only. We'll have to talk about it. Again, it goes on what how you DM us or respond to us. If we get Drew Breezy on to literally go through the after action review piece by piece, we're not going to do any fandom, we're not going to, acknowledge the Wolfpack. We're not going to acknowledge the Jack. We just want to sit down with Drew Breezy. And because he has spent way more time than we have, because we do 4 shows a week, we really just don't have that kind of time. But what we do have time to do is find guys like Drew Breezy who can do it for us. If that is something that you would like, and you want to be a paid member to our YouTube, Michael fill in and tell you how to be a paid member for our YouTube. Well, we might come on in the next week or two, a couple of weeks. I don't know when. And maybe we'll do a true breakdown for those who really just want to hear what Drew Breezy has said, because I do see a lot of that in the chats. Is that something you guys would be up for doing, Mike or Drew?
No. Okay. No, I'm fucking with you. Yeah, of course. I would love to. Yeah, I would love to.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I'm down for whatever. I want to get to that. I don't think that it's like we just start to scratch the surface, on a show like this. And you guys are more than I know that I have a hard stop today, just for my own life and schedule, but you guys are more than welcome to keep going now, but with whatever else you want to continue to discuss. But yeah, absolutely. And I want that to be, we could probably let the members watch that, but I think that the audio we would still put out to everybody, because I think it's important for people to hear someone break these facts down in ways that no one else is doing.
And that's what's great about Mike, is that, it's not about the money for Mike, right? It's about getting this information out to everybody. And for a lot of the, find that for your other influencers that'll come out and talk shit about Uvalde, and then very quickly follow that up with what they can sell you as far as training packages and stuff. I mean, I don't like to be called an influencer. I don't want to be an influencer. I don't consider myself to be an influencer. And I always tell people, if you're influenced by me, then you should see a therapist. All I can do is give you perspectives and talk to people who think different than I am. Guys, I appreciate Drew Breezy, Mike, and I appreciate you being on the show with us today. I do want to set that up though, because I want to hear from myself. You go through this AAR, this after action review, and some of these other documents. Anything that you want to close out on, Mike?
No. I'd like to give Drew the final word on, even if it's just a 2 or 3 things, whatever, like a kind of like a backing out summary of, when you look at this interim report, what are the things as people leave this sort of like waypoint today on the Uvalde train, and they go look at this interim report, what are the key things that they need to be looking at so that they can sort of deprogram themselves from just listening to other people talk about it and start to look at this for themselves? What are the key things that they need to be thinking about as they go look at this for themselves?
Off the top of my head, I can tell you the objectivity of the whole thing was impressive, to be honest, because when I watched the hearing, it looked to me like this was a blame fest, and this was, let's get this off of DPS's plate as quick as we can. Mm-hmm. And then when I rewatched the hearing, I kind of watched it with a different eye after reading the interim report. And I see that McCraw, I've changed a little bit of my opinion about him. Like, he's, just so you'll know, Steve McCraw, the director of DPS, is a career FBI man. He does not, he purports to have all this knowledge and training of Columbine and all this other stuff. He was an FBI agent during all that. He's a politically appointed guy. So yeah, one is the objectivity of it all, and two, the gravity of it all, as in, when we engage in debate on social media, no matter what the topic is, and we, again, this is why I led off with, you got to be mindful that 19 kids and 2 teachers died. We tend to turn this into a high school debate. And then it does get down to ad hominem attacks, and it gets down to who's qualified to say what. And listen, when you read this report, you understand the gravity and how serious the matter is. It's more than just recommendations. It's kind of like it's kind of like how it's almost like a biography of how it went down. So one of the things that you'll realize is that it's not about blame, but there were plenty of errors made, and there are plenty of people that probably need to evaluate how they handle school security, how they handle law enforcement response, and like Eric says, breaching tools, and how we handle social issues with a kid like this, or the investigation of somebody who overtly says, I'm going to shoot up a school. Just things like that. Like it's just time to shut off all the noise, shut off all the guys that are in one breath telling you how horrible cops are, and then in the next breath selling you a training program to protect you to be your own first responder. And look at this document and see they've took the time to evaluate what went wrong here, because some very bad things went wrong.
Yes, things went wrong. There were mistakes made. There were things that we look at and we're going to be able to say this was done wrong and this could have been done differently only in hindsight, maybe not in the moment that their perception was. And that has been our position from the very beginning, which is like, we have to ask ourselves good questions through this to learn from it so that we can actually know what went wrong and where we can be better. And our continued pushback is to not be making these sweeping judgments like that guy's a coward, or these guys are all cowards. These broad brush strokes aren't helpful and they're not accurate. So we have to be careful with our response on these incidents that take a while to untangle. So I definitely want to I know that maybe this is going to frustrate some people to hear this. It's even frustrating to me because I know, like, in an hour and 20 minutes, just sort of like skimming the surface of this stuff, it's like, I want so much more to this. And there's a lot more to be said. And we will give it to you. We'll get Drew on, and we'll just I'll shut up at least. While you and let you just roll through this thing and just comment on it for sure.
Something that, you can take to your bedroom tonight as you lay down on your sweet, sweet ghost bed that you bought using the promo code WOLFPACK that gets you 40% off of luxury adjustable bases, 25% off of beddings, pillows, and accessories, 30% off of all award-winning mattresses, 40 to 50% off adjustable base bundles, or 50% off of memory foam toppers, or 50% off ghost bed natural mattresses. The savings just keep going on and on and on and on and on when you use the promo code WOLFPACK. But we really want you to kind of prepare your minds for that video. Don't come at it with this childlike blame game, like he said, like a high school debate. No, we're going to talk like gentlemen, and we're going to hear, what does the AAR say? What does the biography, as he put it, say? So again, if you are new to the show, GhostBed is a wonderful sponsor of ours. The promo code is WOLFPACK, made in the good old US of A. They're going to have a landing page. Hopefully we'll have it next week. If not, in the meantime, you can use that promo code WOLFPACK, get all your savings. If you are having a hard time with that promo code, drop a customer survey and use your name. Buy the pillows, buy the topper if you can't you do it. Whatever it takes, support these guys. They have taken, they're our first, they were our first sponsor when we went on the Drinking Bros Network, and they're our first sponsor off of the network. And so we're just, we wouldn't have a show if it wasn't for GhostBed. Point blank, period. Go and support GhostBed. They support law enforcement officers. They support veterans. And Tana Lee says, Tanzo, you trying to pull a Ben Shapiro ad read? No, I'm trying to pull an ad read that I forgot to give 45 minutes ago.
I'm Ben Shapiro, and you need a GhostBed.
Thanks,
guys, are you sick of woke liberals trying to keep you awake at night? Well, you can fall asleep easily on a GhostBed.
Are you sick of guys who are...
I'm good at the Ben Shapiro.
You are. I don't even want to try. I was going to try for a second, but I was like, you know what? Why? Like, he was so good at it. Why do I even need to try to back
I'm really
that
glad
up?
you stopped, because you were about to really embarrass yourself.
I'm not embarrassing myself. That was a dead-on Ben Shapiro ad read.
I'm
Yeah,
talking
that's-
about Eric.
He's talking about me.
Okay. I was like, dude, that's
I wanted to get in on the fun, but I immediately realized that you actually have a gift at this. It would be like listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan play guitar and then me be like, oh, I want to do that too. And then everybody just be like, dude, put the guitar down.
Yeah, my son has a guitar. Let me play.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Drew Breezy, follow him, guys. Thanks for listening to the show. I know, like, obviously, like when you title something like, hey, this is about Uvalde, you think it's going to be as comprehensive as it can be. But listen, this is like we're going into hour number 6 of addressing this piece by piece. And we will add on another one. Let's get that scheduled, and then we'll do a live where all the members can watch it, and then we'll release the audio as a special edition. And however long it takes Drew to say whatever he wants to say without my loud mouth getting involved, we'll do that.